Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to the Charlie Tolhurst Show. Do apologise for the opening titles there of the show because for some reason, as you can see, I'm not at home. I am in a Premier Inn hotel, having to get used to new Wi-Fi networks because I'm on the way to an event. So I've had to convene a new Wi-Fi setup. But finally, I've got this now. I'm bringing you the show live tonight. And I'm joined by Labour Party supporter Zach Chambers to round up all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Zach. We hope that the connection tonight stays okay. It should be running. Hopefully, it should be running nice and smooth at the moment, which is what we want to do. Because obviously, we want to bring you all the latest news and chat to our viewers live on YouTube. So I want to start off the show by talking about the UK news briefing, which is the segment all about UK news, or here in the UK. Now, before you ask, am I going to have more of this? Because Boris Johnson has apparently been accused of yet more rule-breaking parties, particularly one he had on his birthday, believe it or not, as well. And Zach, I have to say, Partygate is certainly turning into a probe at the moment, isn't it?
Oh, it's a farce, Charlie. Let me just say that. Okay, go through. It's certainly a farce, Charlie. No doubt about it. I have to say, thinking about if you just missed what happened, like I think it was Tuesday, wasn't it? It was Tuesday. I think it was. Yes, it was Tuesday, Charlie. The Metropolitan Police announced that this whole thing of Partygate was now going to a criminal investigation after saying for the last couple of weeks that it doesn't warrant a criminal investigation because we don't investigate retrospective crimes. And then it sort of developed through the day, Charlie, with what happened, their position is sort of involved, Charlie, because Tuesday the whole Sue Gray report was on hold. Allegedly, because apparently there's now a criminal investigation. Then it turns out a few hours later we may get it on the Wednesday because the police said it was okay to have it that day. Then we didn't get it because I don't know why. Sue Gray wasn't ready to deliver, obviously, mate. And then we still waited. And then we got to the Friday. There was a big announcement on the Friday morning that there was going to have to be redactions because apparently the Metropolitan Police said that, well, apparently we only want minimal information about some of the criminal ones that's been investigated. So this has been a farce, Charlie. This is quite frankly a farce. And as you said, there was recently an allegation, I think it was, I think ITV News revealed on the Monday, where apparently Boris had a boozy bash in that sense. I think it involved cake, if I remember, from what I understand. Then I think there was denied by Number 10 a couple of days that there was cake involved. Although it didn't help when Connor Burns went on Channel 4 News and said that the Prime Minister was ambushed by a cake. I've not known cakes to be violent, Charlie. Maybe I think we're violent from the truth, but I don't think a cake I've ever known to be violent to a certain member of parliament or even a minister. It's a farce. It really is such a farce. What's gone on? I don't know whether there was a cake or wasn't a cake. This British government is a farce, Charlie. The whole thing is, and now it looks like we're going to get some whitewash report on the Monday. And the expectation for this is now being let down, Charlie, because now, if you think about it, okay, we're not going to get the full thing now, even though we are going to get the full report. We're going to get redacted stuff of it because there's a criminal investigation. The Met Police doesn't want to prejudice it. And I don't know, Charlie, I've looked up opinions and seen what people thought about it. I looked up what legal experts thought about this. There's been a bit mixed on these sides, Charlie, definitely. It's certainly been a bit mixed. And some are saying that because it's only a fixed penalty notice, if there is going to be charges announced, then there's some lawyers are saying that, why are you writing about prejudice when you fix penalty notice? And there's others saying, well, there could be other factors in it. So I think the trouble is, Charlie, is this looks like a cover-up in some instances. I think if you think about it, it does look like a cover-up, because what you have is the Mets having one position the other day, one day, and then the Met Police having another position the other day. It's a farce, Charlie. It's a disgrace. I think it's turning into a bit of a stitch-up, if you ask me, this report, where it's going to exonerate the Prime Minister and all that sort of thing. But the fact is that we're not going to hear the end of this, Charlie, because there's still crimes involved, and we may not know about the crimes that are happening until, a couple of months later. I mean, it's ridiculous, Charlie. It really is ridiculous. Honestly.
Yeah. Sorry about the issues there with, I don't know whose end it was that had the issues, because
it might have been yours, Charlie. It might have been yours.
I think it might be mine. Do apologise, because unfortunately some of my, as I said at the start of this show, I'm in a completely different location. I'm trying my best tonight to do a show.
That's fine, mate.
I'm sure everyone can hear me. Can you all guys
hear
me?
I can, Charlie, I can hear you fine, mate. Don't worry. It's all good, mate.
That's fine. I'm just I just don't want, I hope this broadcast tonight runs smoothly. But yeah, Zach, as I said, it's an interesting thing. I was going to play a video of the Prime Minister talking about the Sue Gray report, but unfortunately I've just found out that if I switch onto another device, my internet will crash. So I'm going to basically
unlucky.
I'm going to focus on the chat side of it tonight. But yeah, Boris Johnson clearly is in trouble if that happens, because he's clear to me that he's got to be more realistic. And I'm afraid if he finds out that he's broken another rule, I think he's going to end up potentially facing a leadership challenge, Zach, which I think for Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, it's looking like them two probably might be the contenders for Prime Minister.
There's those two are obvious, Charlie. It's clear to me. The trouble, I have to say this, the trouble I have, Charlie, about this, right, okay, is that it feels like it's going to be, we've been hyped up for this report to come out, okay, we've been extremely hyped up, and, we're all looking forward to it, because we're going to wonder whether the Prime Minister is going to be let off, or he's going to be found to be guilty of, potentially breaking laws and all that sort of thing. Well, I suppose it's not for Sue Gray to determine whether he broke the law. She can only report basically the fact, because she's a civil servant. People are claiming she's independent. She's not. She's part of the government. She's part of the civil service, which is kind of attached to the government in some ways, if you think about it. So we're all getting excited, and then when you hear a lot of stuff like, oh, it's going to be redacted and all that sort of thing, because the Met Police doesn't want certain information to be only minimal reference to it. The fact there's potentially 8 out of the 17 that's going to have minimal reference, it kind of doesn't feel like as big as the moment now as we're expecting it to be, because we're going to find out about the eight of the 9 of them, actually, if you think about 9. I think it's 9, 8, 9, 17. So we're going to find out 9 of them, and the other 8 we're not going to really find out much. So what this is going to do, Charlie, it's not going to resolve the matter. It's going to drag on, and there are certain Tory MPs that were sent letters to the 1922 committee asking for no confidence votes in Boris Johnson. I mean, they're going to be hanging on now, and I suppose that if you're Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss, and you're, preparing yourself for potential leadership campaigns, if the event that Johnson does resign, which I don't think he will at this rate, because he seems to be in an optimistic position, I don't know. I feel like it's a shaky position, but I can't see him resigning at this stage. Can you? He could be let off for anything, Charlie, at this rate. He could be let off for, like, I don't know, things that I wouldn't really describe, really. But yeah, he's getting away with it, doesn't he? He keeps getting away with it. And I think this report may be coming up Monday. We don't know, Charlie. I mean, there's still. I guess the fact that because there's got to be, there has to be some redactions of names. I have to understand that, just in case a junior member of a cabinet office gets abused everywhere and targeted, then there's understandable reasons for redacted. But this report, Charlie, is a waste of time. This is a total waste of time. If the whole thing cannot be released, it is a total waste of time. There's no point. We might as well just wait for it not to happen again. It's just ridiculous. It's boring. We might not bother. Just wait for the damn thing to be done. I mean, even if it takes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, I'd rather see a full report than some silly redacted, all that sort of thing. It makes a mockery of releasing reports. It really does.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, Zach. I do apologise again for the broadcasting. Do you know what? It reminds me of GB News' launch day. Remember GB News launching, and we see all of these technical glitches that we're having. It just reminds me.
I think it's your end, Charlie. Charlie, I think it's your end because you're obviously in a different location tonight, which is fair enough, mate. I mean, if you obviously want to, thanks for even doing this with me tonight, but it's fine. We're all. I think you hear my main things. What I want to say, Charlie. So it's all right. It's not as bad as GB News launch night. I have to say. Let me get out of the box, Charlie. It's not as bad as that. Let me just say that it really is not that bad. That was worse. I mean, I wish I never watched that day in full. When you look back in time and realise what a farce it was.
Yeah, I understand that, guys. But yeah, that's fine, Zach. I hope obviously the Sue Gray report, that's something we've got to be discussing with at the moment. So all I can say is let's hope that comes up. But moving on now to the second part of this briefing. Now, if you saw one of my tweets earlier, you might have found this very interesting because it turns out that Andrew Neil has actually found a new home. Seems like GB News have forgot about him. Very much because he's announced that he's joining Channel 4, apparently. Rumouring talks over him joining Channel 4 for a Sunday political show, which will be held in the evening if it all goes to plan. But it seems like what I heard on social media that the show could apparently launch as early as the end of this month.
Yes, I have to say, Charlie, this is very interesting because he left GB News a long time ago in September. Goodness me, that feels like ages ago, Charlie. If you think about it, Channel 4 is an interesting direction, Charlie, and I'm surprised about this as far as you. I mean, first of all, if true, if he's getting a Sunday night politics show, weekly politics show, that's very good. Because that avoids all the morning shows, and they're not going to get an audience in the morning, all that sort of thing. So getting him in a Sunday evening is probably good for them. Second, I suppose, Charlie, I'm surprised he's doing this because he once called Channel 4 the TV arm of The Guardian, basically implying that it's too lefty and all that sort of thing. I suppose in some ways, though, Charlie, if you think about it, is that I think that it actually is good for Channel 4 because they got a very good journalist, if that's true. By the way, he's actually on Channel 4 this Sunday, Charlie, because he's got a show about Boris Johnson, asking whether is Boris Johnson finished or not. Let me go through the title programme, Charlie, because it's on tomorrow night, actually. And I've got it recorded somewhere, because I know I've got it recorded somewhere. Here we go. Boris Johnson having his one ran out of the road. That's 6:45 tomorrow on Channel 4, hosted by Andrew Neil. So, yeah, I suppose this could be true, Charlie, that he's about to get a permanent show on Channel 4. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good look for Channel 4 as well, because sometimes people say, oh, look, it looks too lefty and all that sort of things like that. Well, Andrew Neil's normally associated with a right-wing magazine, The Spectator. So I think in some ways it's good on both sides because it will prove the image of Andrew Neil and it will prove the image of Channel 4 because it doesn't look like a bunch of, in some people's eyes, lefty metropolitan middle-class news network and all that sort of thing, and focus on the big hits at getting the big interview. So, it's actually, I find this a positive development if it's true, Charlie.
I have to say, Zach, as well, looking at the tweet, he says earlier in the year, he said Channel 4 is basically the broadcast arm of The Guardian. Don't think they had much interest in me. Okay, he signed for them, which I found very strange, given that he founded GB News and then quit after 2 weeks. So I think it's clear to me Andrew Neil has maybe found himself a new home other than the BBC to do broadcast. I mean, it's great to see him back on the screens because he is a ferocious political interviewer. He's very challenging with interviews. But yeah, I think he's got to like basically come out on top if he wants to get a name for himself on a show like Channel 4, because it follows Chris Wallace moving from Fox News to join CNN. It's a very similar move, I have to say, Zach, repeated here than it is in the United States.
Yeah, you could say there's some comparison to that. Because Andrew Neil has appeared on Channel BBC, ITV. He will now then, it looks like, if true, and it's very likely to be true, Channel 4, GB News, and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's another big move for him. I mean, the Sunday weekly show is good for him because it's only once a week. And it will review the Sunday news as well. So, yeah, I think he's got a good slot, I think, Charlie, if he's doing Sunday evening. He's got a good slot.
What do you make about Chris Wallace going to CNN?
It's a big move. It's for, I think, if I remember, Charlie, it's for the brand new CNN Plus streaming service, which is launching in a couple of months' time. And he's going to be, I believe, interviewing he's going outside of politics, I believe. He's interviewing people from not just politics, but different areas of the as well, such as celebrities, businesses, culture as well. Yes, that's where I believe he's going to be joining. So he's going to get a weekday show. I think he's going to get a 5-day show as well, Charlie. And it's going to be live as well, from what I understand. So let me go through he's going to do major figures across the news landscape, according to the CNN press release. So yeah, I think it's a good move. I'm sure he'll probably clear across CNN TV as well as CNN Plus. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, it's a good move. Chris Wallace joining CNN Plus. I kind of have to say, in terms of whether I agree with Chris Wallace going to CNN, I mean, he was on Fox News for a long time. And I thought actually for Fox News, he served it well, being a show where you can actually have tough interviews. But yeah, to move to CNN, it's a different career for him. I wasn't overly keen on the announcement, but all I can say is, depending on what you guys have in the comments, please drop them in. What do you make of this announcement? Obviously, Chris Wallace going to CNN, Andrew Neil potentially going to Channel 4, looks ever closer like this is going to happen. There is also a show on tomorrow. Zach, could you explain to listeners what that show is again?
Yes, and that show I was just talking about, Charlie, it's on Channel 4 at 6:45 for an hour. It's called Boris Johnson Has He Run Out of Road? And it's going to be presented by Andrew Neil, who is going to be interviewing figures from within the Conservative Party about Boris Johnson and whether he has actually run out of road.
Yeah. Boris Johnson run out of road tomorrow with Andrew Neil on 6:45 on Channel 4. I can't wait for this. This programme looks to be interesting. I hope to tune in and watch it one day at some point. But moving on now from that, we're going to go to the worldwide briefing now, because I want to chat specifically about some news regarding Russia and Ukraine, because unfortunately, I've seen the scenes over there. There seems to be like a war starting or something, some sort of weapons, some explosions going on. Zach, what do you have any? What is happening with Vladimir Putin?
I'll try and better explain this to you, Charlie, because obviously this is very complex. Well, so at the moment there's a hostile situation between Russia and Ukraine. Vladimir Putin looks like he's about to invade Ukraine, and they're probably, if that's true, if that does become the case, and it could become next month, we don't know what's Putin's motives about this is, because Putin is a very unpredictable person sometimes. So why is Russia invading Ukraine? Well, if you think about it, Charlie, Russia has felt like Ukraine is part of their territory and wants part of their territory back. So the best idea is to invade the whole country, basically, and all that sort of thing. I don't know why Vladimir Putin thinks it's a good idea, because this breaks norms, conventions, international treaties, and and it results. And it will, as I said, Charlie, if this does happen, it will probably result in sanctions, and serious financial consequences. I mean, the US has talked about financial sanctions, cutting off Nord Stream 2 from Germany to Russia, because that's a very perilous point, Charlie. That's a gas line, where we get all our gas from, basically, if you think about it, as well. So yeah, that's one area of where that could be sanctioned. They could be financially sanctioned, so Russia gets carved out the smart system if they invade, which would result in economic consequences as well. I think Joe Biden said on the other day that he would be prepared to personally sanction Vladimir Putin himself, which would be a bit of a hit for Vladimir. Does Vladimir Putin care? Probably not. But, if you think about it, it's a very serious situation. There's NATO have sent troops out, the US has sent troops out of side of Ukraine and its neighbouring countries, to respond. Russia has about 100,000 troops on the border of Ukraine from all sides, Charlie. I mean, that's a scary amount. That suggests an invasion is imminent, which is worrying. And yeah, there was intel this week, Charlie, that suggested that Russia wanted to install a pro-Kremlin leader in Ukraine if they invaded Ukraine, a puppet basically, where they just tag the Russian line and just be best buddies and get into bed with the Russians, basically. So yeah, this is a serious situation, Charlie. It could get bloody, it could get serious, and it's very concerning for Europe overall, because this is Ukraine is all about choosing their own directions, choosing their own allies, choosing what they want to be as a country, and it's been ruined at the moment by Russia. And yeah, it's very, very serious at the moment, Charlie. It's very, very serious. It's a very fragile and deteriorating situation.
Oh, I can't say what Vladimir Putin's doing. I hope there's not a war. Let's please beg we not have another war. But yeah, it's clear to me that the situation over there, Boris Johnson, I believe, is going to be holding calls with Vladimir Putin in a few days' time anyway. So we'll keep you updated on all that news regarding the Worldwide Briefing. Now it's time for Sports Round now, and we have finally got some news to talk about. Motorsport has finally returned. Formula E launched their season yesterday, and today we had the first two races of the Formula E of season 8 in Diriyah. Two different winners. Race 1, defending champion Nick de Vries taking the win, and race 2, Eduardo Mortara picking up a win there for Rocket Venturi Racing. Zach, what did you make of the first two Formula E races?
I thought race 2 was the best race out of them a lot, despite the disappointing end to the race, where there was a safety car. It took so long, to the fact that because it took so long, we ended up finishing the race ended up finishing behind the safety car. So that was disappointing. But I think it was a very, very good race 2. Let me just say that, Charlie. Very exciting. It looked like Nick de Vries' Toulouse, really. And then, for some reason, he completely lost pace, then made contact, and just went through down the pack, finishing. I think he finished 10th, if I'm correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
10th. You start on pole after, quite frankly, a brilliant qualifying by getting on pole by 5/1000th of a second. I think he got pole by in the new qualifying format, which I thought was very good, by the way, Charlie. I thought it was very good.
God, the internet's gone down completely there. What was that?
Oh, you're right. You're right. I can still hear you, mate. I can still hear you. Your picture's just frozen. That's all. As long as I can still hear you.
Right, here we go. Here's race. Is the second race standings here?
All right. If you can get them up. If you I'm gonna get them up myself if you have issues. So do bear with me.
Let's hope that they load up. But yeah, we've got the standings here for you guys. Let's hope. Yay, we've got. I actually managed to get them up for some reason. There we go. Albeit it's taking a bit of time, but we've got the standings up there. Top 10 drivers.
Yeah, so this is obviously the second race. So that was Mortara who won on the safety car. Robin Freint, Lucas Degrassi was on the podium. Andrea Lotta fourth. Jake Dennis, who's had, I have to say, a very good weekend, Charlie, in fifth position. Sixth was Vern. Stoffel Van Dorn seventh. Good recovery for him after a poor qualifying. Oliver Rowland eighth. Pascal Wallonvine, Nick De Vries tumbled down the order in 10th. Oliver Askew, 11th place. Not bad, considering he got the points in his first race. Very good for a record debut. DeCosta 12th, Boris 13th, Gunter 14th, Sam Burr 15th. Poor race for him after a contact.
What happened to them again?
No, they had contact. Yeah, they had contact with the Bird did with the ball in qualifying, and was forced to miss the last couple of minutes of his second group, which meant he couldn't go out. Katama 16th, Cassidy 16th, Katama 18th, Oliver Toe 19th, Dante 19th, Giovinazzi 20th. Alexander Simmons was the one that retired, by the way, and caused safety car, and therefore the end of the wall, hit the wall. Mitch Evans 21st, awful race, I have to say, Charlie, for Jaguar. Very, very terrible race overall. But what it does in terms of the driver standings is that Mortara is leading by 4 points from Nick De Vries and Stoffel Van Dorn, then Jake Dennis and Lucas Disgrassi. That's the top 5 in terms of what's happening there. Robin Fright is 6th, Lotter is 7th, Bird is 8th, Vern Knight, Cassidy's 10th in the standings. We've got 14 races left, Charlie. This is all still to play for. I think Mercedes are early title contenders if you thought about their pace, but this is Formula E, Charlie. This can all happen within minutes and all that. Everything happens. So I personally, it's anyone's game at this rate to see who wins the title. If you're asking me.
It is. And the next race for Formula E, not actually that long away, a couple of weeks. Mexico City. And I believe it is going to be on the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez as well, according to what we're reading up here. Looks like it is going to be on the actual Formula One circuit, albeit on a different layout, but on the Formula One circuit venue, which is the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico. In Mexico City, of course, that race hosts Formula One, usually around the later part of the year. Formula E will be racing Mexico February 12th, I believe. And actually, we do have the track actually up here for you. It is the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez that's hosting it. It's actually one of Formula E's fastest tracks. It's also the highest track above sea level at 2,250 meters. Here's the circuit in question. Turn 1 is a right-hander, followed by 2, then 3, then 4, then a little sort of hairpin style chicane at 5 and 6, 7, 8, down the back straight to 9, where it joins up with the Formula One baseball stadium. However, instead of peeling straight round to the left and then right, the circuit will continue going very tight to the left. 13 and 14 then comes round, and then round the Peril Targa, which is turn 16. And I believe, I'm not sure, according to this, whether there is going to be a chicane just before the start.
No, it doesn't look like it this year. It doesn't. It looks like they got rid of that. I think there was some notorious accidents last time they did that, Charlie. There was several accidents that caused it there, but it looks like they got rid of it, which is probably the right move. I think that's fair enough. It just means that it just exactly like the Formula One track where they go straight flat out through to the start finish line. It's only turn 1 onwards that's different in that part there. So I look forward to the race returning to that. Certainly be a good one.
Yeah, of course. The last time I went there, don't remember that event. Lucas Di Grassi winning 1 year, despite
That was
basically
so
starting at the
close.
back of the
Yeah,
grid.
that was so close. I think it was Verline who ran out of energy at the end of the race. He was about to win,
Yeah.
and he hit 0% and had to slow down before the start finish line. Degrassi was right behind him and won the race. The whisker, and what an incredible finish that was. I remember that very well.
Yeah, I've just found it out that I remember that win. It was Lucas Di Grassi probably taking one of the most memorable wins of his career. But yeah,
Yeah,
all I can say is Formula E back on the 12th of February at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico. Wow, isn't this event going to be great? I hope so. Round 3 of the championship. By the way, this is only a single race. This is not a double header. It's a single race. Just to confirm that with all the listeners. But moving on now from that now, you know what? We'll go for a quick little update on the football because obviously everyone likes looking at football.
I don't think there's been
So
much
let's go
football
for
this
it.
weekend, Charlie. There's certainly been no Premier League action. It's mainly been the Championship. There has been the African Cup of Nations. I haven't been following that too much, to be honest. So I don't remember all the scores and everything like that. But yeah, there has been little football. Next week, I believe, is the FA Cup. So there will be some football going on next week. Thank goodness. We should be able to talk about that. As well, but I'll actually go through the Africa Cup of Nations actually because it's been the semi-final stages, quarter-final stages actually of it. I think today there's been Gamba versus Cameroon was 2-0, Burkina Faso was 1-0 against Tunisia, and tomorrow is Egypt and Morocco and Senegal and Guinea that are playing for places in the semi-final, which will take place Wednesday and Thursday, and the final is Sunday. Oh no, sorry. No, the Sunday, not Sunday. It is Sunday, but it's at 7 o'clock rather than 4. But yeah, so that will be happening next week as well.
Yeah, as well. I thought the Premier League was on, but if not, that is fine. Championship matches are the only matches that seem to be actually on this weekend in the English Football League. So you know what? We will go straight for the EFL fixtures whilst we're here. I wouldn't usually do this, but we'll go through them again. That's if this page can load, but we have the championship fixtures for you right here. We've got some matches today, or plenty of matches today actually.
Plenty, yeah.
Huddersfield, and actually no, QPR and Reading. QPR 4-0 winners. Hull City 2-0 winners against Swansea. Bournemouth 1-0 despite a red card. Middlesbrough beating Coventry 1-0. It was goalless for Luton and Blackburn. Fulham, Blackpool 1-1 as well. Sheffield United 2-0 winners at Peterborough. Preston and Bristol with a 2-2 draw. Millwall beating West Brom 2-0. Hull City 2. Swansea 0. And of course, one of the big games tomorrow, Derby County versus Birmingham. Derby fighting to stay in the championship despite getting deducted points earlier in the season.
Yeah, they're ahead of Barnsley as well. I should say the fact that they're doing quite well recently. The fact they've been up at beating Barnsley, who are 24th. I mean, they haven't received any penalty points as far as where they've had a horrendous one. So yeah, not good. The teams that are in the relegation zone at the moment are Reading, Peterborough, Derby, and Barnsley. Reading in the relegation zone, blind me, I have to say. Peterborough and Barnsley less of a surprise, but Reading, that's one to watch, Charlie. Definitely one to watch.
Yeah, the championship fixtures will be back next week. We hope Premier League will also make a return as well. All I can say in that respect. But now moving on to the next part of the show. Let's hope we can get through this, guys. We've done well tonight. Let's try and see if we can get through this show. Conversation Corner's up next now. And yes, we're going to be talking about The Apprentice again. Now, this week's task was fishing. The latest task 4. Big task for the teams. And Alex was in charge of Infinity. Harpreet was in charge of Diverse. Both teams going for two completely different fish or recipes. One team went for a crab and the other went for pollock. But unfortunately, once again, Lord Sugar describing one of the losses as the worst failure he'd ever seen in the boardroom.
Oh.
Zach, how do you review the latest episode of The Apprentice?
Well, I think it was a catastrophic failure for the team, Charlie. You know, if you think about it, if you think about it, Alex, he was the project manager for this, went on to be fired. He forgot the star ingredient of the fish he was catching, which is crab. How could you forget the star ingredient that you've been working with and not sell it? And there was a bit of a gap, wasn't there, between how many profits was made, and you know, the action between both teams. You know, the one that Alex was on. I'm afraid, you know, the fact that he missed out on the crab, I think it sums it up, Charlie. Because I think without the crab, he may have won. He may have won. We don't know, but he may have won. But nevertheless, Charlie, shambles. It was a shambles, because how can you miss the key ingredient to catching fish? Come on, that's like the most easiest thing to remember. The fact they pitched this and then they forgot to remember the crab, so they left with just the fish they got. Oh, it's mad, isn't it? It was totally mad, yeah. Charlie. I couldn't believe it.
Cannot believe what happened. It was catch of the day. That was the whole point of this task, was to get the catch of the day, and he forgot it. And Alex was fired because of it. Project manager, which you're responsible for putting yourself forward by what Catherine said. She nominated him to be project manager, despite one of the days she was off sick. So, yeah, I think, actually, no, it was Amy that nominated him project manager. But really, did he have experience with this kind of stuff? I don't think he did.
He didn't have enough experience.
The other team,
no way enough experience. Yeah.
The sales. You look at the sales they done when the fish came out. They were selling a lot more. They had, what was it, pollock. They had like proper pollock fish they made. The recipe was better. The overall pitch was better. They had an overall like better outcome and more. It was more profitable. They made more sales. The other team instead went for an arancini instead of a burger, which didn't end up making any sales. And they made the product really expensive because they spent so much on these ingredients like rocket and all these other big fish and that. And it just didn't.
Yeah. There are totally unnecessary side dishes that just ended up taking the price up of the actual product above it, to the point where customers couldn't afford it, and they didn't want to buy it at the end of the day. Now, the thing about this, Charlie, what this task was supposed to do, right? Okay, is a mix of skills. You want a premium product that's high priced as possible, but affordable for the customer that they can buy, and therefore, the more people you buy, the more profits you can get, really. And the more you spend, and the more people get to buy, that will be the amount of difference you get in your profit. So, yeah, and that's where the skills need to come in. And for Alex, that he missed a key skill out in not selling the product that he was what was meant to be the star of. So, yeah. That was a big problem there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Zach, I'm going to mention Akshay again because he has been on the losing team 4 times in a row. And I was surprised he didn't get fired last week. I must admit, he has had a woeful performance. And he's also one on the first task they done with the cruise ship advertisement. He was the project manager. He was very close to even going on the first week. He really needs to step up, doesn't he, if he wants to remain in this process?
Oh, my goodness me. I'm really surprised he has not gone there. I'm really, really surprised because he's been literally 4 times that he has been in that drop zone. I can't see him surviving a 5th if he does get in there. I don't know. He's like a dead man walking in. It's incredible. You die once, you get killed twice, you get murdered 3 times, and you get manslaughter the 4th. That's like going through the stages. It really is, Charlie, of death. It really is. I don't want to imagine what the 5th time will be like, because it'd be that bad. I think he will get fired on the 5th if he is in the bottom 3 next week. But I think next week as well, Charlie, they are creating a computer game next week for next week's task, which could be very fascinating. They're going to need to create a game demo alongside a character before pitching to investors as well. So that's next week's task. Very exciting.
Yep.
I'm very fascinated in games, Charlie. So this will be one for me to watch.
Yeah. Sounds like a great task next week. Games design, of course. There's a course at South Essex College, actually, in the Basildon campus. Down where I live in Basildon, there's a college campus called South Essex College Centre for Digital Technologies. They actually do a games design course. Level 2, I think they do, actually. So the candidates on The Apprentice will actually have a go at doing them themselves to try and impress Lord Sugar. Will they fail? Will they succeed? Or will they fail? That's the question for the latest news of the week. But yes, unfortunately, Alex became the 4th candidate to be fired from the process. God, 4 men left now. The men are all going. What is going on with the men this year? Seems like they need to up their game if Lord Sugar really wants to be investing in them and invest £250,000 in their business. I'm sorry. They've really got to watch on with that. So that's all I can say for this week's edition of Conversation Corner. But speaking of which, I'm actually going to continue with Conversation Corner very, very quickly, just because I want to bring you some news very quickly, some good news, which I think is very, very important to everyone around us. And I will get that up for you right now if my internet will allow me. I do apologise once again that we are having some technical glitches tonight. What I will say on my second part of the Conversation Corner segment is, and it's just coming up now, thankfully, is that there is plenty of work taking place around the local area here. Obviously, not where I'm at the moment, but sort of where I live in Basildon. There's been a lot of interesting things that have been happening that I just would like to mention about. In particular, something which is at the moment on the top of my agenda, and that is to do with the council plans in Basildon regarding Eastgate Shopping Centre. Now, a lot of people have really been trying to save the Eastgate Centre from demolition. There has been new ownership that has come in after the station centre had gone into administration. We do really hope that the centre does stay for Basildon, because it's a really important part of the town centre. We know that there's been plans to build flats there. The Tory party clearly don't want that to happen. But yeah, we just hope, as I said, guys, that Basildon continues to have investment in it. Obviously, we've got the Empire Cinemas opening very soon, actually, which I'm hopefully looking forward to seeing. But Zach, what do you make about Basildon before we move on? Do you think that the town centre plans that the council thrown in are creating a lot of confusion for residents?
Well, it's certainly causing a lot of problems, Charlie. I mean, to see the owners going to administration, basically, it was, well, deeply worrying, Charlie, because it could close down a whole town centre if that's the case, and take thousands of jobs with it, which is not a good idea. So if that's the case, that it is being saved, then that's pretty good news. Although it's news that you sort of wish didn't happen in the first place because of the the treatment that the store's got. I mean, it's not great. If that's the case, Charlie. But yeah, very if the thing has been saved, then that's good.
Yeah, it is a shame because obviously last year, you might know, in Basildon, this company at the moment taking on a lot of new employees. Cookies and Cones recently opened a store there in the Eastgate Centre last year. And obviously this article's from September of last year. And again, yeah, there we go. Finally loaded up. Yeah, Cookie and Cones said that Basildon, they were coming for you. This was last year when they reopened the store, and I think this store actually saved the town because, like, it's a shop that sells like cookies and ice cream, stuff like that. It's an important store, I think, and it looks like a store that I think will drive local trade up massively. So yeah, I really hope that a business like Cookies and Cones can like bring a lot of investment for the town. We need small businesses. We need to see recruitment drives being popped up, I think, to get these businesses out there, particularly in Eastgate, which is really struggling at the moment, to have new businesses being brought forward. I think it's a good idea. So that's all I can say, guys, for my Conversation Corner segment tonight. That'll be back next week. Now it's time to look at the papers for the day. Hopefully some of tomorrow's papers will have come through. I'm going to try my hardest to get these up for you guys tonight. Whilst we're here, I have the tab open now. Here we are. I believe these are the latest newspaper. I'm actually going to refresh the feed because I believe we have some new papers that are set to come out. Here we go, guys. Here's the update from the newspapers. We only have Saturday's papers really up for you at the moment. But all I can say, here we go. We're going to have to read these papers off. Me and Zach will go over tomorrow's papers if we find any. But the Financial Times says the Met is accused of a stitch-up over Gray's delayed Partygate report. The police launch a late inquiry into Boris Johnson's lockdown parties. The Guardian says a heavily redacted report into Downing Street party will be published imminently, the Guardian has said. The Daily Express says the Prime Minister is determined to go ahead with the national insurance tax hike, which is here. Showdown, punishing tax hike to go, no ifs, no buts. The Sun has a Strictly picture exclusive. Okay, the Sun trying to promote Strictly Come Dancing. Unfortunately, it isn't loading up at the moment, but all I can say is that's their headline. The Daily Star. Now, the Daily Star is saying that it was taking its own inquiry on the lockdown parties. Oh, here we go. Kiss Me Quick Step is the headline. The Daily Star's taking their own edge on lockdown parties as well. The Daily Mail says there is outrage at the police over the number 10 shambles. The Times says that senior civil servant is investigating lockdown breaking parties. Here's the headline for you there. Outrage over police parties. The Daily Telegraph saying that energy bills set to rise by nearly £1,900 as plans are set to be finalised in the week. Also, the Daily Mirror says BP and Shell are profiting from the energy crisis to take the tune of £900 a second. Zach, what do you make to the latest headlines?
Yeah, obviously, let's go through the papers. I've got them up here as well, just in case that it's start. I'm going to start off with. Let me start off with the Express. Actually, I'm going to start with off there. They're talking about the fact that the Prime Minister is going to go ahead with this national insurance tax hike, no ifs, no buts. Just think about that when you're ahead for a couple of minutes, because there has been a bit of a backbench rebellion against this. They supported this initially because this is to fund social care, basically. This is to fund the NHS. This is to fund social care. There's going to be this national insurance tax increased by 1.25% at the beginning of April. Tory MPs, especially low tax Conservatives, not very happy about this because obviously this increases taxes on workers, employees. There's potential problem there. That's why there's a bit of an edge against this, and this could be part of Operation Red Meat if this comes to it eventually, as well. Which, it shouldn't have gone ahead in the first place. This tax rise, I think this is a very poor tax rise. I mean, doing underfunding the NHS is a bit. Yeah, it's just not an argument I buy really. In that front, I'm going to go to the Daily Star next. Who mocked the police report, the police probe into number 10 party. Don't worry, sir, I have a cunning plan. This is alleging that this Daily Star is basically saying cops who didn't want to probe number 10 party don't want to reveal findings. Yeah, basically so. They didn't want to investigate in the first place. Then they decided they were going to investigate because they found evidence. Now they don't want all the they were going to wanted to release the full report. Now they only want partial information of the parties that investigate. So yeah, basically the Star is implying that there's a stitch up going on here as well. The Mail is outraged at police over number 10 party probe shambles. Boris is going to be sent a heavily sensitive Partygate dossier. I don't think it should be coming out at all, Charlie. To be fair, if they're going to be censoring information like that, it's come on. They should wait for police investigation or not bother at all. The Times run with the same story as well. Anger at Met Police inquiry. It's a whole mess, this situation, Charlie. It really is. It's just such a whole mess as well. It is stupid. It's going to become a bit of an anticlimax when this comes out on Monday potentially, and there's going to be so much spin to this, Charlie. I can tell you this now. They're going to spin it. They're totally going to spin this as a victory for Boris Johnson. That this report let him off the hook. It's all the civil servants' fault. La 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 la. No, there's still investigation. There will still be investigation going. It's just a spin line that number 10 can use to say that they've declared victory on this thing, which is it's just not good. The Daily Telegraph is unfortunately energy bills as well. £1,900 is hideous.
That's a lot of money.
We've seen nothing yet from the Conservative side, Charlie, in terms of what they're actually going to do. There's been nothing, absolutely nothing. Labour have seemingly got a plan. The Tories don't. It's just nothing. There's just nothing happening, Charlie. They're not even prepared. They're leaving it all to the last minute, and it's not. It's so bad, Charlie. There's been nothing done. All the poor families will be the ones hit off by this as well. What's the Mirror front page? Energy firms £900 a second. That's the ones that've been profiting on BP, Shell, and Labour. I think one of the ways that Labour proposed, Charlie, was that there would be this one-off windfall tax where those oil companies like Shell and BP would be taxed basically because for all the profits they get. And I sort of somehow agree with that as well, because it's totally pathetic, Charlie, that the likes of Shell and BP are getting profits out of this, while we the normal customer are not getting anything as well. As you can see, Charlie, I think there's been two papers that released their front pages tomorrow. I'm going to start with the Observer. This is
sorry, we are loading them. The papers are coming in right now for you. Here's Sunday's Observer.
Yeah, I've got it here. Tories accused of levelling up stunt to save Johnson's job. This will be the levelling up white paper. I think it's been released Monday, Charlie, and it's going to be basically full of recycled pledges. So it's a waste of time, Charlie. It's going to be 400 pages of filter and nonsense, and in that sort of thing. So yeah, no wonder why it's been criticised. Interesting enough, Charlie, I think there was a poll out the other day, and they asked people this poll, right? Okay, who is the better party for handling levelling up? And I saw this, right? Okay, and Labour were ahead on this question of the Conservatives by 30 points in this poll. 30 points, they're ahead on the question on who's better, which party better on pledging to let up. 30 points. Now, if that was replicating the general election, the red wall, which is now the blue wall, but the red wall would rise up again like blue in China's GDP every year. That's how much of a gap there is. And it's shocking, really. You wonder what these Conservative voters really getting, really, in exchange. The other front page, I think, has been released, Charlie. I think the only other front page is the Independent, which says Sunak puts finishing touches to leadership bid. Behind the scenes, he is getting ready for a leadership election. Rishi Sunak is, and the Chancellor thinks that depending on what happens out of this Partygate report and the police investigation, that's going to become unsustainable for the Prime Minister and he'll have to resign. So Sunak is now putting the final touch to the leadership bid, and expect probably Liz Truss to run alongside him. Now, one name today, Charlie, I don't know if you heard this, but one name that's been that's sort of kind of announced that he may run is Tom Tugendhat, who runs the Foreign Affairs Select Committee.
Yeah, I heard about that actually. Yeah,
it looks like he's also potentially going to be in the running for the Conservative Party leader and the Prime Ministerial job if he runs. Now, I don't expect he will win at the end of the day, but it'll be interesting because he could wrap up a bit of support alongside certain One Nation Tory MPs, which would be, it'll be interesting because this will see how much a vote split there would be between Sunak, Truss, and Tugendhat. That would be very interesting, Charlie. But yeah, they're the front pages so far that come out tomorrow. I think that's all the front pages tonight so far.
Yeah, Zach, I just want to say as well, when I heard about Tom Tugendhat, I was driving on the M25 to come up here, and I heard that news come out on Smooth Radio on their when they do their news bulletins. I heard that come through, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because Tom Tugendhat has been very critical against lockdowns.
Yeah,
himself, he's been against a lot of these restrictions, tier 3, COVID measures. Obviously, he was very vocal about the Prime Minister's withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan here in the UK, Boris Johnson. Wow. Prime Minister for Tom Tugendhat, potentially. He's an outsider, I'll say that. An outsider for PM, but all we can say is we'll just keep you updated with all the latest news that comes in on that issue regarding Tom Tugendhat potentially running for Prime Minister. I'd also just like to address very quickly Storm Malik, which was on the Independence page tomorrow. If you've not been listening to Storm Malik, there's been lots of damage to parts of the UK. In fact, I'm just going to go over that now, actually. A woman has been killed by a fallen tree in Aberdeen. Also, a boy at 9 is killed after a falling tree as well. Look at this. I can't believe it. A boy 9, a woman who was 60. You can just see there some of the horrible images. Some of these images are quite disturbing. I'm just going to show you some of them now. Here it is. Richard Nutter was getting changed in the back of a vehicle after cycling when the tree came down on top of it at Appleby Bridge in Bradford. This was some of the damage here that was sustained during the storm. This was some of the aftermath of it.
Yeah, that was
pretty extraordinary scene.
Extraordinary, yeah. On the bridge, well, there's a tree that's fallen over as well. So yeah, that's some quite a bit of damage that caused there. Something weather related as well, I think, Charlie, as well. The United States has been hit by a winter weather storm as well in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, New Jersey, and several others, Rhode Island as well, I think, as well. So yeah, there's a lot of snow that's been caused as well. So I thought I mentioned that as well. But obviously, thoughts and prayers with the people unfortunately who died in the storm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not ideal at the end of the day. It's not ideal, but all I can say is that's what happens sometimes. Remember 1987? That was a horrible year when we had a storm hit the UK. So yeah, we've got Storm Malik there on the Independent, their front page for tomorrow. as that continues to wreak havoc in parts across northern England and Scotland. Now, moving on to the Great British Star and Red Devil of the week. Now, funnily enough, I'm going to start with my nominations because I have a nomination for the Great British Star. Now, I'm going to go into healthcare this time because I want to give it to someone who has fought so hard against Sajid Javid, who is the health secretary. And it's an unvaccinated NHS doctor, believe it or not, that actually spoke out against why the vaccine. It's unvaccinated Dr. James. Yes, that was the name of the man. Dr. James. I'll get his name up for you now, actually, on the screen, if it does load up. But yes, he was on GB News the other day, was someone called Dr. James. He actually spoke against, this is him here, this was him actually here challenging the health secretary on COVID-19 vaccines. Yes, he has been literally on GB News, on many other stations, talking about this, and he wins my Great British Star for speaking out against why people should have personal choice to have a COVID-19 vaccination. Yes, a COVID-19 vaccination. He wins my Great British Star award along with another person who I'm going to nominate as well. And again, if you think I'm controversial, another nomination is going to be someone who is considering a big return in America, Donald Trump, back hopefully very soon in the White House. There was a big, he held a rally last week. I haven't watched it, but I hope for President Trump, he will be returning very soon to the White House. Now, Zach, what do you make of my nominations this week?
Well, the Donald Trump one. The Dr. James one's interesting. I just think he needs to get vaccinated, clear and simple. I don't get his point.
Dr. Steve James, his name is, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's been a bit ignorant, to be fair. I get there's a debate around science, but not to get vaccinated. Come on, man. You're working with vulnerable parents. Have you dealt with 90-year-olds as the critical ill ones? Come on, man. Get vaccinated, for the love of God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. Just get vaccinated.
Yeah, I agree with that? It's an interesting one. I don't know, but I think the guy spoke out against it, and the fact with Omicron that it's like you can't stop yourself passing the virus on. So yeah. It is very interesting. Sorry, guys, tonight the internet we're starting to suffer some technical glitches.
I've got to do mine now, haven't I? Yes. I might as well get my ones out of the way.
Let's go for yours.
Yeah, my one's out of the way. Right, let me start off with my Great British Star. Actually, because it's going to be interesting. I think you're going to really like this one, Charlie. You're really going to like this one. This is, I will call this. I'm going to give it the company Stephen Klein. The guy who behind Klein Vision, who has made the first ever certified flying car. No, this is not Back to the Future, Charlie. This is a genuine thing. He's made a flying car that has been certified by the Slovakian Transport Authority. It's got mechanical wings. It took off from runaway from the city of Nitra and landed in Bratislava 35 minutes away. And then after it folded its wing, it drove off the highway. So it then did 200 more times across 700 hours of flight time. And it was declared reliable and safe. It can reach 100 miles on the road, 8,000 feet of altitude, needing only about 2 minutes and 15 seconds to deploy or store its wings. wow, I have to say, Charlie, we really are going back or proper to the future now with this car, because oh my goodness me, this car is something, Charlie. That the person behind this, incredible job. I cannot imagine it took until 2022 for there to be a reliable flying car on this planet. And well, Stefan Klein is the British Star of the Week for me, the Great British Star. Now, the Red Devil, it's an easy one for me. I'll actually call it Dick of the Week, because it's going to go to Cressida Dick, in my opinion, for the absolute hellhole shambles operations of the Partygate. Really, the way it's been investigated. On Tuesday, they took weeks for it to be investigated. Then on Tuesday, they were going to investigate it, and they wanted the full report to be released without it interfering Sue Gray. Then we found out on the Friday, oh, suddenly we don't want this. We don't want this published in full without some redactions. I mean, come on. This is the most inconsistent, stupidest position I've ever heard, Charlie. And it's a total mess of how the Metropolitan Police operate. It is totally corrupt, total shambles, totally unedible, and a mess of an organisation. So Cressida Dick gets Red Devil, or should I say, Dick of the Week. That's my choices.
Yeah, I forgot to do mine as well, actually, the Red Devil of the Week for me. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I'm going to give it to Team Infinity from The Apprentice for that horrendous lack of, just a horrendous loss for them. The whole task, they were told to make a catch of the day for Lord Sugar. They didn't follow the catch of the day, which was to make the crab. They went for an arancini instead of a burger. They completely screwed it up. The whole task screwed up from the beginning. They got hardly any sales in. The product value was so expensive, and I have to say, when I watched the task back, I saw the horrendous amount of just disingenuous behaviour. The whole so they say the whole teamwork was poor. There was no teamwork at all, really. They were just all arguing with each other. In the ballroom, it didn't really come unstuck. And yeah, I'm surprised Akshay still is in the competition because, as I said earlier, 4 weeks, 4 losses, been in the bottom 3 times as well in the ballroom, in the final 3. One as PM as well in the first task. Zach, and as well as that, before we finish, I mean, politics and business is a big part of the world at the moment. This task was like a Brexit task. This was about going out fishing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was finding fish, cooking it, and then getting up to standards to sell in the market. And the crab, which the ones were their star dish, totally missed off Team Infinity. And that's why old face Alex had to go, because he missed the whole purpose of the challenge. And the idea that you would miss the task, the star of the challenge, the one you're actually looking for, it's pretty terrible and pretty unforgiving, Charlie.
Yeah. I just don't understand what he was doing. He made a complete and utter farce with the task. And Alex Short pictured here, Karen calls him out to lying to Lord Sugar in the ballroom as well. Alex comes up short. Candidate is fourth to be fired from the process. From the Mail Online reads that article there. Again, due to slow internet tonight, we don't seem to have the article up. But yeah, that there is the reason why Alex got fired from the process, was because he couldn't quite get his catch of the day done and wins by Red Devil of the Week because he led that team. He should have done better because of how awful it was, because of how atrocious the task was. He got fired. So all I can say is that Apprentice will be back next week at 9 o'clock on BBC One, where they're going to make a video game, which will be very interesting to watch. But all I can say, guys, is that's all we've got time for tonight for the Charlie Tolhurst show, live on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. I do understand tonight that there has been some technical difficulties, but we have tried to put a show on for you guys tonight to the best of our abilities. And yeah, all I can say is that we hope that we can make some interesting shows in the future with the technology.
We got through it. We got through it.
We got through it indeed. So yes, guys, all I can say is thank you for listening, everyone. And this is the Charlie Tolhurst show live on YouTube. And we'll see you again next week for another edition of the show. Take care, everyone, and good night.